Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today, your boy done messed up. I never did a character guide on Kieran. I totally thought I did the last time he got a rework, and I didn't. So, it's pointed out to me in my comments, I'm missing the Kieran character guide. So, we're going to toss this sucker out tonight. I'm recording this on Thursday night, and I figure I better get it out soon because basically in a day, nobody's going to care about Kieran. We're all going to be talking about the anniversary character because that's going to be announced. Like, at this time tomorrow, we will know what the anniversary character is, right? So, for those of you that want to know about Kieran, though, I think he is a really good support character. And for those of you unfamiliar with him, he's like a good battery support type character, right? And he has very, very good auras, like very competitive auras. But you really have to like green his BT to get the best of that. We'll talk about that as we go through, right? So in this video, we're going to look at his artifacts, his calls, and his spheres. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. His calls aren't like the craziest. Here's the thing. His calls aren't bad, but when I'm looking for like, you only get to bring 3 calls to a fight, right? So you're looking for calls that like have heavy impact immediately. And usually I'm looking at stuff like Raijin and Rydia that can like, I could strategically like keep my party safe for a few turns or something that's putting down like a really heavy HP damage up, something like that, right? Kieran's got a little bit of that, right? But I think there are better spheres out there. But his 15 is basically dead. Like this here, it literally does no color effect. It's just an attack. So nothing too good there. The LD does have some value though. So what the LD call is going to give you, it's going to do a party brave and HP damage 5% up. So it's like just a teeny bit. You get a little bit of overflow up, eye brave up, and then brave regen scaled on eye brave. So it's got some like good party buffs stacked into it, but I think there are better calls for that, and I think there are more impactful calls, right? So I wouldn't jump in and like summon Kieran just for his calls. That being said, let's look at his actual kit here and look at his artifacts and the sphere. So we're going to go into artifacts, and when we look at artifacts, he's got a pretty standard artifact set that you want, which is attack 108 and the C50 passive. Now, he wants attack, but not for the typical reason you want attack. Normally, damage dealers want attack to do more damage. Kieran is more of a support-based character. He really wants attack, though, because he has a lot of battery in his kit, but his battery scales off of attack. So when you're increasing attack, you're not only increasing his damage, but you're increasing his battery, which is the part that I really like about Kieran, is the battery and the support. So that's why you really want to go attack on Kieran. Let's go ahead and look at the spheres. So he's got an interesting kind of mixed sphere set. He's got an A, B, and a C slot, right? So on the A slot, I would prioritize attack. No, I don't have like I don't have what I consider to be his best in slot. I did happen to just put like his full sphere on it because I had it. His sphere isn't bad. It's actually a pretty cool sphere, and it's a very unique one, right? So it actually like increases your brave limit over its cap. So if you have this sphere is really good on characters that are very offensive based that cap on brave really easily. So characters with like a lot of brave hits. So I'm thinking of somebody like maybe a Vaughn, for example. Vaughn has like a brave floor and he does a lot of brave hits. He's capping like quite a bit. So like Vaughn could make use of this and extend his brave limit beyond that and go even higher, right? I think it's fine on Kieran. It's just that I think the sphere is better on a damage dealer. Once again, I just put it on him because, I upgraded his EX. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to use this. This was before I studied the game as much. I'm like, back in the day, and I think I've talked about this before, is that when I used to upgrade characters, whatever I got from their EX, I used to just toss it on the character that I got it from, assuming that that would be the best one for the character, right? But Kieran's own isn't the worst. But what I would do is go for attack. I would make attack your priority, and then just pair it with like max brave. I think eye brave is decent. He does have a little bit of battery that scales off of eye brave as well, or brave damage. So just any combo involving attack I think would be the best, right? So for example, like Sephiroth is attack max brave, something like that, or you could do like Jack, which is attack brave damage, right? Anything like that. Machina is attack eye brave. Some type of combo like that you have an extra of that he can fulfill. That's what I would throw on there, right? The thing with Kieran is his B and C slots are tricky because he's not like B slot is a tanking slot, right? And he's not a prototypical tank. He doesn't lock, he doesn't dodge, and you don't want him to take HP damage. Like a lot of these B slot triggers are like you have to dodge, or the enemy has to attack you, which means you want to be locked on. Or you want to take HP damage, and he doesn't really have a lot of like tanky stuff in his kit. So the two we always go to on characters like that would be Gabranth and Celis, right? And Gabranth is more brave damage reduction to the party, which is a good quality to have. Celis is more about Brave gaining, and since Kieran's about Brave gaining, I opted to go Celis. So I feel like Celis is probably your best choice there to really emphasize what he does. Now, the C slot is also tricky because he's not like a crazy healer or anything, and a lot of the C slots are healing slots. So I would say you just kind of go with the de facto Alphanaut here, which is going to be a I Brave and attack for the party. And it's just while granting a buff. So if you have it, I think Celis and Alphanaut are pretty much your B and C slots. The A slot's a lot more open-ended, as it is with most characters, right? So, all right, let's go ahead, hop into the showcase. Kieran is actually pretty easy to show off. He's going to be a simple showcase to do. I'm not going to showcase an FR or anything, so we don't need to worry about force charging. And let's go ahead and dip right in here. We will, we'll give him a heavy prayer. We'll get the Luna Freya burst effect up. We'll try to make him look good. You know, then we can compare him to Fusuya. We saw Fusuya's damage recently, right? So Kieran has a very important overhead called Drops of Myrrh. It starts at 3. You want this thing at 5 stacks like right away. It's going to make his whole kit better. A lot of his auras and buffs like stack with it. And by having that max, you just want it, right? So let me talk about Drops of Myrrh just because it's like here. Because the way Drops of Myrrh works, it's not really like he just has it. It's not like a buff that applies it. And then he has different attacks that will increase the stacks, right? And then different attacks that can decrease the stacks. So he starts with Drops of Myrrh, and what this is, it's a party attack, max brave, I brave, and then defense up on the party. So it's a bunch of stats, right? But it's a stacking buff that goes up 8% for every stack. So the more stacks you have, the more it goes up. So you want to just keep your stacks at 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to open with the LD, which is called Shadow Blade. And this is usually how I would open with him. Now, he has something called Set Drops of Myrrh. That's his AA. That will put him at 5 stacks right away. But you want to start with the LD because you get a special buff with it that's going to make things a lot better. Okay, and we'll talk about that. But I just want to see the damage here on the LD. Okay, about 570k AoE. That's not too bad, right? He's a support character too. We have to remember that. So Shadow Blade does a big party battery and it scales on attack, which is why I emphasize attack, right? He gets a free ability use on his next turn, which you're going to want to use on the 35, and we'll do that on the next turn. So he gets a buff called World Memories, he gets Memories of the Chronicles buff, and he gets Crystal Caravan buff. So he gets a lot of buffs, and then it does give him 5 stacks of Drops of Myrrh. So that's going to max out, right? So let's go through all. It literally gives him like all of his buffs. So if you press that, you've got all the buffs. So Crystal Caravan is just a max brave and attack up. It's max brave to himself and a party attack up. Memories of the Chronicles is attack up, HP damage up, overflow stolen up, and brave regen. And then the really important one is World's Memory. So this one is going to be brave damage and overflow stolen and HP damage up to himself. And then party brave damage, HP damage, brave gains up, I brave up, brave regen, overflow, basically every stat, okay? But the big thing that it does is if you were to use an attack that would decrease your Drops of Myrrh, it doesn't. So you want to upkeep this World's Memories as much as possible. So you're pretty much, after you drop the LD at the beginning, you really only want to use it when you want to refresh the World's Memories. Because what happens is your Drops of Myrrh now will stay at 5, and I'll talk about the attack that subtracts it. We'll do that on the next turn. Let's go ahead with Luna Freya. Let's just drop an LD right away. We won't play around, we'll just get right to the nitty gritty here, right? So I basically just want to drop an LD. That'll give him the heavy prayer. We're going to go ahead and we are going to, sure, I guess I'll just do an energy heal because it's free. But I'm not really focused on force charging here. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and give him a quick prayer. Give him a few turns. Perfect. And then we will just attack. And then with Rem, we'll just simply swap over and we'll be good to go. And we'll pretty much see the rest of the kit. I mean, he is a BT character. Now, I don't have the BT, so I will have to explain the BT. I do actually want his BT. I think he's kind of a cool BT. You know what? Let's just play it really safe and let's just drop this Rydia call. Just because I got it sitting there. That way, because these enemies do like HP attack quite a bit. I usually don't die in this showcase fight, but sometimes I do, right? So we're going to go ahead and swap into Kieran. Alright, so what's going to happen now is we have a free skill use from our LD. And what you want to go into is Holy Wrist Strike, just because it's his strongest attack. So what happens is Holy Wrist Strike, and you notice it's very low uses, right? It only has 5 uses. So you really want to make sure you're using your free skill uses on it. So Holy Wrist Strike, you have that as long as you have 5 Drops of Myrrh. So let's go ahead and pop that, and let's see what the damage looks like here. Ooh, yeah, that's big. See, that's big, heavy, full AoE damage. So in AoE fights, he can put up some numbers, because that 630k, it's not the craziest you've seen, but like in 3 target fights, that full 630k, like it's not going to dilute. It's going to stay full damage. It's full AoE damage, right? So it does do a party battery scaled off of attack, does that big fat AoE damage. It is holy damage as well. Now, normally, Holy Rush Strike will subtract 5 drops of Myrrh. So that's what made Kieran difficult earlier, before he got his reworks and stuff, was that he would lose the drops of Myrrh and you have to rebuild it up. So all of his buffs would just get weaker. He would lose the Holy Rush Strike, right? But because we have that World's Memories buff, it did not subtract. So you see our stacks are still at 5. We can basically spam Holy Rush Strike now, right? But once again, you've only got 5 skill uses of it. So you want to make sure anytime you get a free skill use, you want to make sure you pop that, right? So let's go ahead and pop Bash, which is the 15, and just show that. So basically, other than that, it's that Bash attack there. You can see we did about 800k to a single target. Decent damage, right? You pretty much just use that to upkeep buffs. It did do a party battery scaled on attack. It does refresh the Crystal Caravan buff. That is one of the buffs we got from the LD. And that one was just a couple of generic stats, nothing too crazy. If he's not at 5 drops of Myrrh, it will give him 2 drops of Myrrh. Okay, so that's the 15. He does get a special HP attack called Soul Shot. You can use it as a filler if you need to, but it's not the craziest. Let's just pop it and look at the damage here. But he does have a transformed HP. Yeah, that's not really worth using. It's like 300k with a little bit of splash. Not the craziest, right? Let's swap back into Kieran. We'll get back into our boy here. And then once again, as long as that World's Memories buff is up, you're good to go. So very easy to play, right? Now, we got the EX, so that's perfect. We can pop that. The EX you also want to press. I would say next to Holy Rush Strike, like that and Caravan Memories, those are like his 2 like standard powerful attacks you want to do. So let's pop the EX and see how much damage we get out of this. Just dropping a meteor. Okay. Okay, so 580k AoE. Yeah, that's okay. Once again, he's there more as like an aura bot, like support character, right? All right, let's swap back in and we'll go through the EX stats here. So the EX did at AoE attack, it is full HP attack, right? And then it just refreshes the Memories of Chronicles buff, which I already talked about, just some more generic stats that we're getting. And then that would give him 3 drops of Myrrh. But you're pretty much just using that for the damage. I think Holy Rush Strike is going to give you a little bit better damage, but they're both really good attacks, right? And then other than that, that's the kit, right? So then we just got to talk about the BT and why it's so important. So the way the BT works, it's going to do a big AoE attack, right? Standard BT stuff. The thing with him, though, it's really important you have him green. One is because if you don't have him green, the only way to actually get the BT effect is to use his burst phase, and you typically don't want to use this character for their burst phase. You want to use your damage dealer as the burst phase, right? So support characters, I've talked about this with characters like Ishtola, you typically, and even like Lunafreya, right? Like, you typically don't want to use them as your burst phase, but they have really good burst effects. So in order to get that burst effect, you kind of got to green them. So that's one reason. The other reason is the burst effect gets way stronger when it's green as opposed to when it's like only 1 dupe or 2 dupes or whatever. So what the burst effect does is it gives you stats based on the drops of Myrrh. So you want to keep drops of Myrrh maxed out. So it's Brave Gain up. It's only 25%, but if you have drops of Myrrh, it's 50%, right? Overflow for both 25%. HP damage up 25%, right? Now here's the big one. You get HP damage limit up plus 25%, but he only gets that if the BT is maxed. So that's actually one of the really big ones, because the best like debuff / support buffs in the game are like HP damage up 1. So anything that's capping HP damage or just flat out giving you HP damage up, those are like the best buffs / debuffs to put on the enemies in the game. That's why Kurasami Call has been so good for so long. So he's got that baked into the BT, but you need it green to really keep that active. And plus when you green it, you get more turns of the BT effect too, right? So that's the big thing. So nothing, it's not like crazy and exciting, right? It's not like, oh my god, it's like Sephiroth and makes the Brave go 1 every turn or has some crazy mechanic. It's just buffs. It's just auras. And that's the thing. Kieran is a support character, and for Kieran to really be at his best, he really needs that BT effect. So anyways, you can let me know what y'all think of Kieran. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.